So this presentation is about a student named Alex. His last name is not Houston. It's actually a pseudonym because I was teaching in Houston at the time. And this is about a student that I interacted with a few years ago. I had signed up to work as a substitute teacher at the time because my fiance and I had relocated to Houston for her job, and I had wanted to keep teaching at the time. So uh, I decided that I would take an assignment working with a elementary school. I had ideally wanted to work as a long-term substitute at a high school, working in social studies and or history, but the situation didn't allow itself to work out that way. So I opened myself up to the opportunity, and I thought there would be an opportunity, and it was an opportunity for me to learn quite a bit. And I ended up working with the KIPP Nexus Elementary Middle School. Um, this is a picture of myself with Alex from a few years back. Um, Essentially, I showed up at the school and had a meeting with the school principal, who informed me that there was a need to have someone dedicated to work with an autistic special needs student. There was apparently no one else on staff that they had available that could be dedicated to him throughout the entire school day for a long-term assignment. And so that's why I was brought in. And those were all the details she gave me. Um, Looking back on it, I would have appreciated if I had been given all of the information that a regular teacher had, because it would have made the experience a lot less painful for Alex and for me. Um, However, I wasn't really given any information on what to do, didn't have any training on how to work with special needs students, especially autistic students. So it was definitely a transformative experience, to say the least. And it was something that I did not have to stick with, but I decided that I would stick with for just about the entire school year. So Alex's background was that he, at the time, was 7 years old. As I mentioned, he was a student at the KIPP Nexus School in Houston, Texas, in grade 2. KIPP is a large charter school network in Texas and in several other states. As I had mentioned, the school did not have the proper supports in place. At the time when I arrived, uh, Alex was fully integrated into the classroom with his classroom teacher. However, the classroom teacher had several other students in the classroom that had behavioral issues and problems, and that were special needs students, and she did not have a support or aid in the classroom. And she was just simply overwhelmed. And because of Alex's personality and his disability, he just took up the entire class, take up a lot of time and attention dedicated to him as opposed to the rest of the class. So I was brought in at first to really sit with him in the class with the other students to really act as a support. Um, During this process, he was identified as a special needs a student that needed special needs. The special education services department at the school was very small. It was run by one teacher. This was a new school. I don't think that this special education department had a lot of support and resources, unfortunately. Um, and so Alex was evaluated for special education services and determined eligible. Unfortunately, and I think this was an administrative issue, that I was not brought into any of the meetings with special education services or any of the IEP meetings that took place. So I was not really aware of what was going on. So I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants for the most part. trying to do a lot of guesswork on what was happening. A lot of people would have picked up and left and asked for a different assignment, and that would have been a good reason, but I decided to stick with it, and just because I wanted to get more experience in this area. So eventually there was an IEP meeting that was scheduled. It was written up formally. He had received medical advice that he would be needing meet the special needs standard. And the special needs education services were provided on a limited basis at this school. But the school did not have the infrastructure in place to fully support him. So he had to eventually get transferred, but it took several months for that to take place. And here's a video of Alex isolated in a converted computer lab, and a video of me taking of him.
You know what that means? Apples and jeans with peanut foods. Okay, so I'm not going to talk to you about clothing, but I'm going to talk to you about what to do with all the incredible apples you get when you go apple tree.
Hi, Alex. How are you? Can you put on Angry Birds for me?
Yes.
Or Lego? That's not Lego or Angry Birds. That's a cooking commercial. Can you click on the skip ad?
No.
You want to watch it? You want to learn how to cook? Looks good. She's cooking. What is that? Do you know? I wonder what that is. Looks like chicken.
It's a taco.
Taco. No, not taco.
So all of these apples are going to cook down and kind of sit in this liquid. And we'll get white and fresh on the outside. And this is going to have a good
No hot.
Uh-huh.
that. More sugar. The sugar's going to caramelize. It's going to make it nice and brown. It's also going to help add that crunch. Throw it in the oven for 20 minutes or so, or 25. Okay, so guess what? We sold like 17 pounds of the apples. What do we do?
So, as I mentioned before, I was not really given any support or any direction, or very limited support and direction in terms of the activities and the lesson plans that I should have been developing and working on with Alex. It took me several weeks actually to get up and running, just because of the way the school functioned. No one seemed to have the time to work with me on doing any of that. So I had to spend a lot of time during the school day and outside of the school day uh, trying to educate myself on how to handle Alex and what to do. As I said, a lot of people may have quit and called and asked for a different assignment to be placed someplace else, but I decided to stick with it. This is actually, as I said, it was a transformative experience for me because it's what prompted me to go back and study to get my master's degree in education. So this is what led to that. So it did have a lot of positive outcomes. And then that's also another reason why I decided to sign up to become part of the Moreland-Teach-Now community to receive my teaching certification. Part of this classroom behavior included not engaging in play with peers um, in the classroom, um, problems with two-way communication with other peers and adults. It was very difficult to understand him, so he used odd words and phrases. Social withdrawal inside of the school building, especially not understanding social cues, lack of empathy, inappropriate social interactions with adults and students. He would frequently carry a blanket around with him, which was quite not unsanitary. He would drag it around on the ground, and this began from the start of the day at 7:30 in the morning until the end of the day at 4:30 in the afternoon. And so, if you took away the blanket from him that he was carrying away, he would go into complete meltdown. Was delay in learning to speak. I think he at 7 was operating on the level of a 3 or 4 year old child, and he demonstrated abnormal body posturing and facial expressions. Alex enjoyed playing with Legos. I actually spent some of my own money to buy him Legos because the school just did not have enough toys for him to play with. And as I said, he had frequent meltdowns several times per day, which was difficult to deal with even after several months of working with him. He frequently wandered the hallways, needed adult constant supervision. His parents had not trained him on how to use the toilet, and he needed supervision with that, which for me was challenging initially. The playground was the only time he demonstrated normal social interaction with his peers. Um, he enjoyed the playground. That's the only time I saw him act normally, behave normally with other children his age. I never had the chance to meet his parents or follow up on his progress after he was transferred from KIPP Nexus. He was transferred at the end of the school year, which kind of defeated the purpose of what they were trying to do. So that was that. Um, Here's a video on understanding autism meltdowns.
If a student says something,
Here's part two. Here's part. So some of the interventions that I attempted were learning from the learner, meaning trying to learn from him based upon what his interests were, trying to get him to talk because he did not enjoy talking that much, giving him choices throughout the day, and really supporting the transitions, which was a big issue, which is actually where he experienced a lot of meltdowns. He just was not able to transition from one activity to another that well. He enjoyed taking breaks. As I mentioned, he enjoyed the playground and the social interactions there. And then again, managing his emotions and behavior, which was a big part of the day as well. So these are some discussion questions for the cohort. What strategies can teachers use to keep special needs students engaged? What is your experience with children with autism and or special needs? How would you create a welcoming environment and provide opportunities for special needs students to develop social interaction skills and extended learning? And what are some examples of clear routines and habits to support regular activities and transitions you would put in place for students with special needs?